First of all, guys, I would also like to tell you. Okay, guys, I hope that the video is clear as well as the sound is audible. Please confirm. Please confirm as the if the video is clear or not. Okay. So guys, let's start with the discussion, and I would also like to tell you that you can download the explainer notes of this entire session from our Telegram channel. Link for the Telegram channel is given in the description box in YouTube. Okay, so you can download these notes from there. Now, first of all, let's see the overview of entire newspaper so that we can understand that actually which articles are important in the today's newspaper. So the first article here we can see, when India grows, the world grows, says Modi. Okay, so on this particular theme, there are many articles that have come in the today's newspaper with respect to the India US, because Prime Minister of India has made a visit to the US. So we'll take all those articles. Then after that, moving on, we have the advertisements and these regional issues not important for the examination. Okay, so directly we'll move on and we'll come to the editorial section. Now on editorial, the first article that we have is strike a fine balance, have a just civil code. Now this particular article, guys, is talking about the recent law commission's recommendations with respect to the uniform civil code that were given. So we'll see this particular article with respect to the examination. Then further moving on, squaring the circle at the India-Egypt summit. We'll see this particular article also, because now the Prime Minister of India is making a visit to the Egypt. Then here we have the article warm welcome. Now this particular article again is on the India-US visit that has happened. Then bridging the gap. The article is talking about this article is actually talking about the recent global gender gap report that was released. Fine. Then facing the heat. So guys, the article is talking about the deaths that have happened in Balia because of the high temperatures and all such kind of things. For exam, you are not required to go too much in detail because that kind of academic substance has not been given in this particular article. Then further moving on, after that we have largely here the political articles etc. that are there. Okay, not very much important for the examination. Here we have article, jet engines deal ensures 80% technology transfer to HAL. Important article, will take it. On side, India US expanding scope of cooperation. We'll see this particular article also. Here Biden hosts state dinner for Modi, corporate diaspora leaders join in. Okay, so point is that we'll take all these particular articles for the exam point of view. The important things we'll take. Then further moving on, after that here, in this particular direction, here we see this particular thing that FCI Food Corporation of India not to consider request by states for more food grains under the open market scheme. So we have seen this particular issue earlier also, that under the open market sales scheme, the state governments can procure the additional food grains from the Food Corporation of India. That food grains will be sold at a particular price. Okay, now what has happened, the FCI has the government has said that additional food grains will not be given. The limits or the quantity that they can procure, on that the caps have been imposed. Okay, now because of this particular thing, the opposition ruled parties, they are saying that it is deliberately against them. For example, Karnataka recently announced that they will be giving 10 kg food grains per person. Okay, this is something which Karnataka says that the central government doesn't want us to give the food grains. So therefore this is something that has happened. I hope guys that you have understood it. Then further moving on, affirming a trusted long-term partner for tech, India sends message to China. We'll see this particular article with respect to the examination. 350 Pakistan citizens abroad board that sank off Greece. Okay, not in unfortunate event, but you are not required to track this particular article for the exam point of view. Then after here we have an article, most states failed to meet their capital spending target in financial year 23. We'll see this particular article also. Then guys, today is Saturday, and on Saturday we don't have the text and context section, nor we also have this science page. So the text and context and science page is not there in the today's newspaper. So that is all about it. And now let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in detail. So guys, in every class we start with a GS quotation which can be used to complement our answers in the GS paper number 1, 2, 3 and 4. So today we'll take the quotation from Peter Drucker. So Peter Drucker says that the ultimate resource in economic development is people. It is people, not capital or raw material, that develops an economy. So the most important resource is actually the human resource, and the investment in the human resource is the most important investment that has to be done by any nation. And human resource, how it can be developed? It can be developed, number one, the education, okay, skill development, education, skill development, health, okay. These are some of the important aspects for the human development, okay, human development. So this is, guys, the idea that we can use for GS paper number 2, GS paper number 3. Even when we talk about India, we say this thing that India is going through the window of demographic dividend. Demographic dividend means a peculiar advantage that India will have because of the favorable working age population that we are having. So due to the demographic dividend, India will have a lot of advantage, but that will not come if these three parameters are not focused upon. Okay, so that is all about it. And now moving to the first article. Okay, so guys, here first of all let me zoom in. Okay, so there are these multiple articles that have been published in the Hindu newspaper on the different pages, and all these particular articles are actually talking about the India-US relation. So recently the Prime Minister of India has made a visit to US, and in this particular visit, all the key takeaways that have come, we are going to see all those takeaways from all these articles, as well as I have covered some of the articles of Indian Express also. So all that details is given here in this one article, in this article that I have taken here. Okay, now let's discuss all the key takeaways. And one more thing is that, guys, beyond this, you are not required to see anything in this particular direction. Beyond this, not required to see anything. Okay, now let's discuss one by one. Now, first of all, the most important development that has come, number one, is the memorandum of understanding that has been signed between the India and America on the transfer of the jet engines. Okay, now let's understand that what this particular issue is all about. So basically, guys, India is now moving forward with its own light combat aircrafts. Okay, so India is moving forward with light combat aircrafts. For example, Tejas is also one of a light combat aircraft that we are developing. Now India wants to develop more and more aircrafts, and we need to have the engines, and in this particular direction India and America has signed a memorandum of understanding. For example, what has happened? GE, the General Electric, so General Electric is a company of the US, and Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, HAL, they have signed a memorandum of understanding that jointly the engines will be developed. Largely the technology will be provided by the General Electric. Okay, and 80% technology transfer by the General Electric will be done to the Hindustan Aeronautical Limited. What do we mean by the technology transfer? Understand this particular thing. See, basically, guys, the idea is to develop 120 to 130 engines for the jet planes. Okay, now initially few engines will be developed by the General Electric. Okay, they will be manufactured by them. These engines will be transferred to the India. Over a period of time, General Electric will teach the Hindustan Aeronautical Limited, HAL. They will also be giving the technology transfer to the Hindustan Aeronautical Limited, that okay, what type of components are to be used, what technologies are there. So know-how, technology transfer will be given. So basically, guys, 80% of the technology transfer in these engines will be given by the GE to the HAL, which is very important. Now understand this particular thing, guys. There was an agreement in 2012 also, that is the Engine Development Agreement in 2012, that was taken up between the GE and HAL, and at that point of a time the technology transfer was about 58%, but now the technology transfer is 80%. So this is going to be in favor of India. Now which type of engines will be developed? So F414 engines, fine, for the light combat aircraft will be developed, and the technology would be transferred. Now guys, this deal has happened, and now the US Congress, okay, they have to sign now the US Congress, they have to sign two separate legislations also. For example, Export Administration Regulation and International Traffic in Arms Regulation. These two bills they have to pass in their own on Congress, and then this particular act will come in place. So this is something that has happened. Now guys, further moving on in this particular thing, a lot of work for this Indian transfer deal already happened in the strategic trade dialogue that was earlier held between the India and USA. Okay, most of the things were solved. Okay, so I have told you that around 120 to 130 engines were likely to be produced. Exact number will be decided by the Defense Acquisition Council. So Defense Acquisition Council is headed by the Defense Minister. So they will finalize the exact number. Okay, now the most important thing that comes here in this particular direction is that it shows that there is a deep faith that USA has on India, that sensitive technologies, when they will be transferred to the India will keep them secure. Moreover, on the intellectual property rights also, the USA has a deep faith on India. This is what this particular deal is showcasing. Okay, then guys, further moving on, after that the second development that comes in this particular direction after the Indian deal. Fine, so Indian deal was first. The second development that comes here is that basically on the critical technologies, India and USA have also signed many of the agreements, and in the critical technologies, agreements have been signed on the semiconductor industry investment, quantum computing, advanced computing, artificial intelligence, on all these particular kind of things the agreements have been signed. Now understand this particular thing guys, that earlier for most of these technologies India was dependent on China, but now India is moving its attention from China to the other country, and the USA becomes the logical destination for the India. So basically this shows that how India is shifting its priorities. Now basically what more things have happened recently. The mineral security partnership was proposed by the America, and this mineral security partnership has been joined by India, and it has become an 11 nation partnership. Now what is this mineral security partnership? Understand this particular thing guys, that see, for example, there are the rare earth minerals. Okay, now rare earth minerals are the group of those minerals which are very much critical in the today's technologies. Okay, semiconductors, okay, computing, okay, renewable energies, rare earth metals. Okay, moreover there are particular type of metals that are to be used in the semiconductors also. Right now the China has monopoly on the rare earth metals or the critical minerals. So this 11 nation mineral security partnership will try to ensure that the monopoly of China can be broken in the critical minerals such as the rare earth metals. Okay, so here the US, India will also be cooperating. Then the next thing that has come here is that guys, India has also joined the Artemis Accords. In the Artemis Accord there are 27 nations apart from including the India and USA, that is also there. Now Artemis Accord is for the space exploration, and in this particular capacity guys, the NASA and ISRO along with the other space agencies, they will be cooperating. So we have cooperated on engine manufacturing. Secondly, we have cooperated on engine manufacturing. Secondly, we have cooperated on the critical technologies. Thirdly, we have cooperated on critical minerals, and now we have cooperated on the space technologies also. Okay, then further moving on, after that basically guys, see, there were certain frosty issues that were also there, certain problematic issues were also there between the India and USA, but the good thing is that these frosty issues were not brought in between this particular meet. Let me give you example that what are the frosty or what are the problematic issues. First issue was the India's policies on the Russia. Now we know this, you might be knowing this particular thing, that still India is importing a lot of oil from Russia. USA doesn't like that particular idea. Now this particular thing might have become a concern, but it was avoided. Then guys, the next thing that comes here is that basically many of the legislators in the USA, they have also questioned the India's stand on human rights. Okay, it is said that minority rights are not being respected in India and all such kind of things were going on. Okay, and many of the, in fact 75 US members of the Congress, they have written a letter to the Mr. Joe Biden that the human right issue in India should be brought. Okay, but these things were avoided, which is good for the India US partnership. Then guys, further moving on in this particular direction, further so after this next development comes. So the countries, that is the India and US, they have also collaborated on the telecommunication. Okay, telecommunication. Okay, resilient supply chains and digital inclusion. Now understand this thing. The next round of telecommunication technology that is coming is the 6G. Okay, 5G already has been rolled out in India on commercial basis, and the next will be the 6G. So basically guys, in the 5G and the 6G technologies, both India and USA would be collaborating. In this particular capacity, it has been said that India's 6G alliance, okay, India's Bharat 6G alliance and the USA's Next G alliance, they will cooperate with each other and will help in the technology transfer for the 6Gs. Moreover, basically guys, we see this particular thing that the Chinese companies such as the Huawei, they are offering the 5G technology to many countries in the region, but India, even in the 5G technologies, have not relied on the China. Okay, for 2G and 3G, even in 4G, we have taken the Chinese components, but in 5G, we even banned the Chinese company from the 5G trials. So 5G, 6G will be the one where the China's presence might not be that much there, and we will be looking on the another partner such as the US. So this is all about this particular article guys, and all the important key takeaways that are there have been covered here. Beyond that, I'll not advise you to go too much in detail. So that is all about it. And now moving to the next article, bridging the gap. Okay, now this particular article guys is talking about the recent gender gap report that was released by the World Economic Forum. Now if you remember, just day before yesterday, we have discussed this World Economic Forum's global gender gap report as well. Now let's discuss some of the key takeaways. First of all guys, the report provides this particular thing that India has climbed 8 places. Last year India's rank was 140. Last year India's rank was 135. This year India's rank is 127. So we have climbed the 8 spots. So 127 out of 146 countries. Now basically guys, there are some of the improvements that is coming. It is being said that, for example, India has closed 64.3% of the gender gap. 64.3% of the gender gap has been closed by India, which is being said as a positive thing. Now first of all, let me tell you some of the other basic information. When we talk about the global gender gap report, it is calculated on the basis of the 4 pillars or 4 parameters. Number 1 is the economic participation and opportunity that is being given to the women. Number 2 is the educational attainment of the women. Number 3 is the health and survival of the women. And number 4 is the political empowerment of the women. On these 4 pillars, or in those 4 parameters, women, the women's progress is seen. Now basically, when we talk about guys, India has performed well on education and in political empowerment, and we find this particular thing that women have 40% representation in the local governance, in urban local bodies, in the panchayats. There are large number of women representatives that are there, and it is largely because of the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, by which we constitutionalize the urban local bodies and the Panchayati Raj institutions. And by the 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, we also provided that 33% of the seats should be reserved for the women. So that has translated actually in the 40% members in ULB and Panchayat being the women. But at the level of parliament, we see that just 15.1% of the parliamentarians are the women. Their population is around 50%, but 15% of parliamentarians are the women. Okay, so basically this particular thing shows that actually we need to bring the women reservation bill back. So women reservation bill was introduced for the first time in 1996, which provided 33% of the seats, 33% of the seats in the Lok Sabha as well as state assemblies should be reserved for the women. So this particular bill needs to be brought back. Now, when we talk about the women's participation in politics, basically, guys, we see that Nagaland actually just now Nagaland became a state in 1963, but now recently the Nagaland has elected its first women MLAs. So women's political participation is not very good. It has to be improved more. Then further moving on, guys, as we talk about the women's economic participation, we see this particular thing that there is an improvement in the parity in wages and income. Now more equal wages are being given to the women also. But at the other hand, we find this particular thing that the share of women in senior positions, share of women in the technical roles, they have reduced. Okay, so in senior positions, in the positions of the CEOs, etc., women are not being given that much importance. Then, guys, the next thing is that we are focusing that on school or in education, women's status have improved. Very good thing. But after they complete the education, they also needed to be provided the paid work. Right now, large number of women are actually involved into the unpaid care work for which they will not be recognized. There they are spending a lot of their time and energy. So it is important that India should provide job assured education to the women. And if job assured education will be given to the women, automatically their economic status and then their social status will improve. Even their nutrition, their voices into the decisions of the family, political voices will improve. This is something that is there. Okay, even when the women are given the jobs, they are impeded by the patriarchal and cultural norms, their safety issues. So these deep issues with respect to the women are needed to be addressed immediately. So that is all about this particular article. And now we'll move to next article. Strike a fine balance, have a just civil code. Okay, now this particular article, guys, will see with respect to GS paper number 1 as well as GS paper number 2, social issues and social justice. Okay, now moving on. So first of all, guys, let me tell you some of the basic information first. So recently 22nd Law Commission has provided that government can ask the citizens' views that whether they want to have the uniform civil code or not. Now, what is a uniform civil code? Basically, understand this particular thing, guys, that there are the criminal laws and there are the civil laws. Criminal laws concerns the criminal offenses, for example, rape, murder, robbery, dacoity. These are the criminal offenses. They are covered under the criminal laws, and we have a uniform criminal law for all the people. We have IPC, we have CRPC, which is same for all people. But when we talk about the civil laws, in the civil laws, there are the personal civil matters that come, and these personal civil matters are, for example, marriage, adoption, divorce, inheritance. For these particular things, the India provides for the personal civil laws, means as per their cultural practice, as per their religious belief, religious faith, the people can deal in these particular matters. For example, guys, in Muslims, we know that the triple talaq prevailed. Okay, instant triple talaq prevailed. Now that particular thing is coming from their cultural and religious beliefs. Okay, so we allow the different communities that they can deal with their personal civil matters as per their own personal civil laws. Now, uniform civil code means that every community will have the same personal laws. These differences will not be there. Okay, every community will have the same personal laws. And in the context of India, there is this article number 44 of the DPSP, which provides that India should attempt to bring the uniform civil code. And now the Law Commission have asked the people that has proposed that we should ask the people. Now, guys, it has been said that when we talk about the uniform civil code, a question comes, that is the personal and religious autonomy versus state's authority to reform the familiar relations. Understand this thing. If you are proposing a uniform civil code, it simply means that you are trying to homogenize, you are trying to enforce a particular standard on all the religious community, that this is the way you will deal in your marriage, this is the way you will deal with the divorce, etc. Now it has been provided that actually this particular thing, the homogenization or uniformity, should come by the communities itself. Government should not impose any such kind of a thing. It has been said that if we take the example of the Special Marriage Act, okay, which provides the marriages between the people of different religion. If we talk about the Indian Succession Act, okay, they came by the society themselves. It has been provided that, guys, right now in India, not only the Muslims but the Hindus, Jain, Buddhist, Sikh, Parsi, Jews, all of them have the power that they can govern their personal matters as per their own personal laws. Okay, even when we talk about the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, it talks about that the marriage would not be completed without the Saptapadi. Now, what is Saptapadi? That is taking the 7 steps around the fires. Okay, fine. Fine, Datta invocation before the fire. So point is that even in the marriages, even the Hindus within the marriages, they are bringing their religious beliefs. We do that thing. So all the communities have the right that they can do. Moreover, there is Article 29 within the Constitution of India, and Article 29 talks about the cultural freedom to all the communities. So point is that one single set of personal law should not be imposed. Moreover, it has also been said, it is also being said that a kind of a common UCC might go against the mosaic. So understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the UCC, just a minute. When we talk about the UCC, any uniform civil code that comes should be emblematic, should represent the mosaic model of multiculturalism. Okay, now understand this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about the communities living in India, different cultures are there, but these different cultures have been arranged in such a way that a common pattern, a common theme is always represented. So if you are bringing the UCC, it should uphold that particular thing. But often it has been said that the UCC will bring a kind of a homogenization, and therefore it might not be the right approach. Now, on the multiculturalism, we have some scholars also. For example, there is the Rochanna Bajpai. Okay, there is Rochanna Bajpai, who says this particular thing, that when we have the different cultures within one country, we have integrationist and restricted multicultural approach. Now, integrationist approach means that there is one particular, basically there is one particular common ground where other communities are to be integrated. Okay, the point is that integrationist approach is there. Okay, but often these integrationist approach needs to be taken very carefully. Understand this particular thing. Sometimes when you are integrating the other religious communities on one common ground, number one, it can be seen that you are assimilating them. Okay, it might be seen that you are homogenizing them, which is negative. But if you don't do anything, then it will be seen that you are appeasing them. Fine. So this is again very problematic. You do something, problem. You don't do something, problem. So point is that very carefully such issues have to be taken up. Now, guys, understand this thing, that the 21st Law Commission, before this is the 22nd, it provided that we should focus on equality between men and women rather than equality between the communities. So basically the gender inequality that is there, that is to be identified, and the gender inequality is to be addressed through the UCC, rather bringing a complete homogenization. This is something that they have provided. Okay, now guys, understand this particular thing, that different cultures, they have their own importance. Okay, cultural relativism is there, but in the name of cultural relativism, we cannot just also allow the continuation of the unjust and discriminatory personal laws. For example, instant triple talaq got invalidated in 2019. Why? Because in the name of culture, it was discriminating against the women. So if these kind of things are there, we cannot allow them to continue. Okay, but at the same time, complete homogenization of the cultures might also not be correct way. Now the article is saying that Muslim community also need to understand that the Muslim personal law and Islam are not one and the same. Muslim personal laws are have been designed by the jurist opinions many number of times, the scholars, okay, Moreover, during the British times also, fine, there are many doctrines that came, and the Muslim personal law has come. Okay, but it is not what just the it is not just what the Islam prescribes in the original sense. Okay, so Muslims particularly also, they should also be acceptable, open to the idea of the some some uniform some liberalization in the laws, some uniformity in the laws. Okay, so this is all about this particular article. Now moving to the next article, squaring the circle at India Egypt summit. Okay, now this article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, international relation, India Egypt relations. Okay, now basically guys, see this particular thing, that now the Prime Minister of India, after the US state visit, he will be visiting to the Egypt. Okay, and as he will be visiting to the Egypt, there will be large number of low hanging fruits that are there which could be reaped. Now understand this thing. So June 24-25, the Prime Minister will be visiting to Egypt, and this will be the first visit by the Indian Prime Minister since 1997. So a large gap has happened. The Indian Prime Minister has not visited the Egypt. Now when we talk about the India-Egypt relations, they are one of the oldest civilizational link that are there. Now when we talk about the India and Egypt trade, first of all guys, India's trade with Egypt stands at $6061 million in 22-23. Okay, and this actually is a decline of 17% over the year before that. Okay, now when we talk about guys the relations between the India and Egypt, they have not been able to fulfill its complete potential. And why they have not been able to fulfill its complete potential, there are many reasons for this particular thing. For example guys, the bilateral ties are not performing. It is not due to the lack of bilateral institutional mechanisms. We have a lot of bilateral institutional mechanisms. For example, India has a joint commission, foreign office consultation group, 9 joint working groups are there between the India and Egypt, which are all the time working that how the cooperation between the India and Egypt on the bilateral terms can be achieved. Okay, now understand this thing, that as we talk about the meet that is coming between the India and Egypt, the Cairo summit that will be held. Okay, why it is important? It is important because first of all, Egypt is a large country, 105 million population. Their economy is $378 billion. Moreover, they also have a stable socio-economic condition which is very much similar to India, and India can leverage all these particular situations. Egypt at the same time is also a big time importer of refined petroleum products, wheat, cars, corns, pharmaceuticals, all these things. And in all these areas, India has a potential that India can supply all these things. In automobiles, we are a very big manufacturer. Fine. For wheat, anyhow guys, for wheat we are the one of a very big producer of the wheat also. Then the pharmaceuticals, we are the pharmacy to the world, so we can provide all these things. Then after that particular thing, Egyptian government is also further taking up the ambitious infrastructure development agenda also, where they have designed 49 mega projects, including the construction of the nuclear power plant, high speed railway network. All these things the Egypt is focusing upon, and here India can help the Egypt. Then but there are certain challenges also that comes in between. And what are the challenges? Number one challenge is that Egyptian economy is right now in the serious crisis. Okay, there are basically the after the pandemic slowdown, fine, what has happened? Tourism have dropped. Inflation is above 30%. Their currency have lost a lot of their values. Okay, they don't have even the foreign exchange for making their payments. So these are certain issues in the Egypt that are needed to be addressed. Okay, beyond that India and Egypt further can have the meaningful relation. So that is all about it. And now moving to the next article. Most states failed to meet their capital spending targets in financial year 23. Now guys, understand this thing that spending capital expenditure happens to be a very important parameter in the growth and development of a nation. Understand this thing that if more and more investment will be done in infrastructure, it will lead to more employment generation. That employment generation will supply that employment generation will lead to as employment generation will happen, people will get wages, they will spend that wages. When they will spend that wages, aggregate demand in the economy will increase, and at the end of the day it will push the economy. Okay, now so therefore now when we talk about the investment, there is the private investment as well as the public investment. Okay, right now the private investment is not coming that much. Why? Because of the pandemic and all the economic situation that is going on. So government's responsibility is to spend more and more money in the economy. Now guys, what has happened recently, the Baroda Bank has come with a report. Okay, so the Bank of Baroda, they have come out with a report where they have taken the data from the 25 states, and they say that the large states such as the Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, they have not been able to fulfill their capital spending plan. Okay, just 6 states they came close to their targets on the capital expenditure. Okay, those states have not been able to fulfill their capital expenditure target. Okay, so basically it has been said that these 25 states, they have been able to achieve just 76% of their target in terms of the capital expenditure they have to do. Andhra Pradesh is the worst, which have just done 23% of their target they have met. And if the states will not spend adequately, then the economic growth might not spur. Okay, so this is about it. Fine. And beyond that, you are not required to track every state's ranking, every state how much they have spent, but center, they have fulfilled their target. And now the main practice question for today. So question reads that Egypt considers India as a geostrategic partner, but we have to move more into geoeconomics. Discuss in the context of recent PM visit to Egypt. So that is all guys about this particular question. I hope that you have understood it. And with this, we come to an end to the today's article, today's analysis. That is all guys. Thank you so much. And guys, now we'll be meeting on Monday, because you know that on Sunday it is a day for the revision. So now we'll meet on Monday. So